Well, here we are, this day of Pentecost, Acts chapter 2, verses 5 to 11. There's a great commotion. The folks who've been gathered in the upper room have been filled with the Holy Spirit. They begin to speak in other languages as the Holy Spirit gives them utterance. They go out into Jerusalem. They have been in the room with the door shut for fear of the Jews. Now, being filled with the Holy Spirit, the power of God, fear is gone. They go out and they start to speak. And they are declaring the mighty works of God. And who was there speaking the mighty works of God? It wasn't just the apostles. It was men who were not apostles, ordinary. You might say, oh, there's no ordinary believer. Every believer is extraordinary, but you understand what I mean. Women would be declaring the mighty works of God. Teenagers would be declaring the mighty works of God. And I can well believe there were children among the 120. We're told in Acts 1, 120 persons in the upper room. I'm sure children would have been there. They're declaring the mighty works of God. And what are the mighty works of God? God's works were mighty in creation. He spoke and a whole universe comes into being. God's works are mighty in providence, upholding the universe with the power of his might. But his most mighty work is in redemption, to save someone like you or I from the consequences of sin, and to transform us, not only to save us from sin and its effects, but to transform us into the children of God, to make us holy, to make us his children, to adopt us, that we're born again and legally adopted into his family. This is his greatest work. It took more than a word. With a word, he can create a universe. But to save you and me, he had to work mightily with his arm. He couldn't just speak salvation. He had to work salvation. It took the coming of Jesus into the world, the second person of the one triune God who came and lived a perfect life for us, died for our sin, rose again from the dead, ascended back into heaven. It takes that mighty work of the Holy Spirit to show us that these things are true, to change our hearts, to give us a heart of flesh instead of a heart of stone. This is his mighty work. It's the gospel. And all 120 are out there declaring the gospel, being given ability to declare the gospel in other languages. It's a miraculous event. It's not unique to Pentecost. The Spirit has worked in the history of the church to give men the ability to speak other languages. It's rare. And where we have the Bible, it's almost unknown. But where the Bible isn't there, it can still be used today. I don't want to get sidetracked. But the central point is the gospel. They declared the gospel. This is the mighty work of God. And it's our task too today, and how we need that power of the Holy Spirit to give us the opportunity and the ability and the courage to declare the gospel, the mighty works of God. Men, women, ministers, ordinary believers, teenagers, children, young people. That's our business here.